Nall. Today I'm doing a Valentine's Special, and welcome to Conversations with Clarice.
Thank you so much for inviting us, Clarice. We're very excited.
Thank you.
Basically, I wanted to thank you both for joining me, and I'd like to know, how long have you been married and how did you meet?
How long have we been married?
I don't know.
48 years this summer.
Oh wow, congratulations. This summer coming, this summer.
Yeah, it was a bad decision that just kept going. So you can explain how we met, because we have different stories.
Please, how did you meet?
How did we meet?
Well, I was in the Navy in San Diego, and what we used to do at that point for fun on the weekends would be to go out and
Nice.
Huh? Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. And what happened was at that time during the Vietnam War, there were San Diego. It's a big Navy and Marine Corps town,
Okay.
so there were probably, I don't know, 100 guys per girl. You know, the ratio was
Okay.
was, and so what they decided to do for the various officers clubs around the San Diego area, they had Top Gun school there for the Navy pilots. They had Marine Corps recruit training depot and stuff. Well, what they would do is every weekend, and maybe during the weekdays too, I can't remember, but they would have they'd have a dance. And usually they were for the younger junior officers such as myself. And we would go there, we'd show up at the club. And I remember this was the summertime, so it was kind of like, you know, there plenty of daylight out and stuff. And the bands were supposed to be rock and roll bands. They were all terrible bands, terrible bands. And so what we did is we'd all get together and we'd go from the various bases around there, and you get on, you know, you've got to get on the base. So we had like bumper stickers on cars and IDs so we could get in there. And then they would just let, you know, women in from town. And we used to, what we used to call the things were hog calls. You know, we're going to go to a hog call tonight, you know, at MCRD, you know, or at Miramar, you know, or at Naval Station 32nd Street, or any place else like that. And it was just a state. So you'd go there and it'd be about the same thing. You'd have, you know, 100 guys to one girl or something like that. And so in any event, I had met her at the Marine Corps Recruit Depot Officers Club and thought, man, she's really, really, really nice, you know, and basically super attractive, at least to me, you know. And so I asked her out on a date, and she had just moved to San Diego and was staying in a place called Poway with her father. And that was up a little bit north of San Diego, right by Naval Air Station Miramar, which was the Top Gun pilot school. And so, and I'd known where that was because I'd stayed there a little bit when I got out to San Diego. But so I arranged a date for her and go by to pick her up, knock on the door, and her 12-year-old sister answers the door. And she's like looking at me and, what are you doing here? And I said, well, yeah, I have a date with your sister, Katie. And she said, well, she's asleep, you know, and this is like 5:30 in the afternoon. And I said, she's asleep? There's a 12-year-old girl. She said, yeah, she's asleep. And okay, you know, so I got stood up, and then what would happen on my ship, you know, if we weren't doing the long cruises to Westpac to be off Vietnam from San Diego, when we were ever home ported in San Diego, they'd have what they would call refresher training. So we'd go out like Monday through Friday or Tuesday through Friday or something, and then come back in for the weekend. And so we had done that. And I don't know how many, you know, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks or something like that. So we get back in and we decide, because I'm rooming with a bunch of different guys, And, you know, it's guys that are together for a while, but their ship would be leaving, and then we take on somebody else to come in, split the rent. So it was, you know, kind of, so we decided that we'd go out again to one of the officers clubs. And
A different one.
a different one, a
Okay.
different officers
Yes.
club. And I think that this must have been at Miramar. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it was.
So I go there and I'm standing around and I'm like looking, and I see this girl again, same girl that stood me up. So I'm telling my guys, I said, you know, I'm going to go over. This is the blankety blank that stood me up. You know, I'm going to go over. You know, because I had a great ego back then. I said, I'm going to go over and let her know what a mistake she made. So I walk over and she's got a great smile. She's smiling all the time and everything. So I'm thinking, oh, she knows me, you know? So I walk over and it's as if she has never seen me in her entire life before, you know? So I try to tell her, you know, thanks for standing me up. And you didn't even remember that, did you? Yeah. Didn't remember that. And so then I asked her out on a second date after that. And then she, you know, actually made the mistake and showed up for that.
Made the mistake.
Yeah.
Bob.
So what happened was I caught her after that. And then, you know, we were on the ship and the ship would go for long cruises and stuff. But that's how we met.
Accidentally.
Met accidentally twice.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So,
Well, it was supposed to happen.
yes, of course. But Katie, what was going on? You were asleep when he came to collect you on the first
I
day?
didn't know until I was in my mid-50s was going on, until I was 55 years old. So, and that's when I was diagnosed with celiac. And part of being celiac, so I was gluten intolerant. And part of that was I would have narcolepsy and I would fall asleep like that. And you couldn't wake me up. 2 or 3 people could shake me and drop me on the floor. You just couldn't wake me up. So I had, I'd actually gone to sleep. And yeah, so, but he found me again.
But he found you again. And then what happened? Were you...
You want me to take it from here?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'd give out on that introduction story.
Bob, you told a fantastic story. You really did. It was eloquent. It
good
was-
job.
No, you can. Well, what I remember after that, and I'll let
Okay.
her take it. You know, I was still in the Navy, and so, you know, we would go, you know, on different cruises and stuff like that. And we'd, you know, mostly we'd leave San Diego. We'd steam 5 days from San Diego to Pearl Harbor. We'd arrange it to get into Pearl Harbor for 1 day to take on supplies, and then from there, you know, we'd go about 10 days from Pearl Harbor to Okinawa, to the ship I was on. We'd pick up a bunch of Marines detachment from there, and then we'd go from Okinawa down to Subic Bay along Longapo City, big Navy base in the Philippines, and then we take on more supplies, and then we'd go from the Philippines to Yankee Station off of Vietnam and be part of a support group ship during the airstrikes, you know, against Vietnam.
Yeah.
And then we'd get a chance. We'd go, you know, we might go to Singapore for liberty or Hong Kong for liberty, or
enough about the Navy.
Enough about the Navy.
Yeah.
But in any event, so that was basically what I was dealing with mostly. She was staying in San Diego at that time. She was going to, I think, Mesa College or Palomar College, and then to Mesa College, and then always, and she's never really changed, she always seemed to have like half a dozen different jobs at one time. She's just like a type A personality, you know, working at a title insurance company, working, you know, doing all kinds of stuff. So, but that's where, so every now and then when I'd come back in town, I would try to catch up with her. And usually, you know, and because by then I knew she had moved from Poway and she had her own apartment. So I knew where she was living, and it was close to the base, so it wasn't any big deal. But Katie, you can fill in the blanks on the rest of that.
So he kept saying, do you want to get married? And I kept saying, no. And the reason why I said no, I said, hey, not personal, buddy, but I'm not going to get married because my mother was married and divorced 4 times. My father was married and divorced twice. My grandparents were married and divorced. My great grandparents were married and divorced. I'm like, why bother? I have no idea why we'd be doing this. And it was in the 70s. We were going for women feminism and we were going to run the world. It was going to be great. And so I was reading Atlas Shrugged and, Women's Room, and I was going to get my career. In fact, I made a list, Sharice, of the 5 things I was going to accomplish by the time I was 25. Okay. Number 1 was I was going to earn my PhD. I had no idea what a PhD was, but I heard that it was the highest degree you could get in education, and I wanted to be financially secure. So I thought that was going to be my way out. Number 2 is I was going to buy a house. And I remember putting in parentheses, I didn't care if it had furniture. And the reason why is because we moved a lot when I was growing up, and I went to 12 different schools in 5 different states growing up, and I wanted some stability. Yep. Number 3 was I was going to buy a car. It was going to be paid for. All my life, I was raised on, we didn't have credit back then. We had layaway. I'd go to Woolworths. That's like going to, a dollar store and putting things on layaway. Okay. That was how my life was. It was like, no, I was going to have a car and it's going to be paid for. Number 4, I can't remember what it was, but I'll tell you what it wasn't in a minute. Number 5 is I said, by the time I was 25, I was going to begin serious dating. I met him when I was 18. He was not in the plan. And so he kept saying, do you want to get married? And I'm like, no, I got these 5 things. And, no, I got these 5 things. So one day he came home and he said, if we get married, I get an extra $155 a month from the Navy. And I was like, well, why didn't you say that before? So I married for money. And I said, okay, that's good. But, once you get out of the Navy, that extra money doesn't come in. So you have to agree that once you get out of the Navy, we get a divorce. And he said,
sure.
So we had the deal made.
Anything you say.
This was a business transaction.
That's right.
It was. So that weekend, because, we didn't want to waste any time, we drove into Las Vegas. That Friday night, it was 102 degrees. We got the $35 special where we had the paraplegic minister. We never saw the witness. He listened to us over the taxi cab. We got the 4 photographs. It was, and nobody knew we were going. Nobody. And so the next day was his birthday. So his mom calls from Alabama, talk to us in California and say, happy birthday. What'd you guys do this weekend? Well, we got married. To who? Who'd you get married to? What? Why? What? So he got out of the Navy and I said, okay, we're done. And he said, oh, the Navy will move us anywhere in the United States we want to go. Where would you like to go? And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. I've never been to San Francisco. And he said, okay, we're going to San Francisco. And I was like, really? Well, okay, I'll hold on for a little bit longer. So he does bait and switch all the time. He's a master.
I love Bob's style. I love his style because he's very smooth and he puts out these transactions, but he has an ulterior motive.
Always.
Definitely, yes. I like Bob's style.
So we were in San Francisco so I could finish my bachelor's degree. I finished my bachelor's degree. He hung around for a couple of years. And then he said, you know what, I'm thinking I might go to law school. And I'm like, law school? You might be making some real money here. I think I'll hang around for a little bit and see what's going on. Well, before you know it, he gets busy at law school and decides that I need to be pregnant so he could study at law school. So
that's true.
It's true. So by the time I'm 25, I do not have my PhD. I'm working on my master's. I am not living in a house. Instead, I am the manager at a very, very nice place. So the rent is free. I do have a car and it's paid for. And we held on to that for 45 years. Remember number 4? I don't have, did I say anything about marriage? Did I say anything about children, family? No,
No.
no. And number 5, by the time I was 25, I was married to him for 25 years and pregnant with my first, which wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to be a career woman. I was supposed to go out and change the world. Instead, he changed me. So there you go. But we ended up with 3 amazing children. And it turns out, Clarice, every one of them are perfect. Do you want to know how they became perfect? When they moved out of the house and they're off our payroll, then they are perfect children. They're like gold.
Definitely.
Gold. Yeah. And they all married 3 wonderful mates. And we told every one of them, no takebacks. You got to keep them. We're not taking them back. And they gave us 5 adorables, 5 legal team adorables, we call them. And legal stands for the first letter of their names. We have Elaine, a Emmy, a Georgia, a Azalea, and the last one's Lily. So we have 5 legal.
They're in the States as well. They're living in the States as well.
Say it again?
Yeah, they're living in the States as well. So you have close contact, because a lot of people, their children move to other countries, etc.
Oh, no. Yeah. In fact, our daughter lives here in town, and one son is an hour away. And then the other son is just up the coast in North Carolina. So we get to, and when they got married, we told them, you don't have to come home for Christmas or Thanksgiving or birthdays or anniversaries at all. You don't have to, as long as once a year we get together as a family. And literally for 12 years, we've all been able to get together. And sometimes it's in October, sometimes it's February. Actually, those are better than, the holidays, because I don't have to cook, which nobody likes my cooking. No, really, my highest compliment I get when I cook is,
it's edible.
That's it. If I can get that, I've hit the pinnacle of my cooking expertise.
Bob, at the end of the day, the both of you got married. You negotiated your relationship all the way through and actually got what you wanted without probably even realizing it.
He did.
Yeah. Keep going, get me in trouble.
No, Clarice, I actually got what I wanted to. This guy is my knight in shining armor. He actually rescued me from ugly situations, and I thank God every day that I have him.
You're an absolute adorable couple, just so easy, so laid back, and you can see that you're happy. You've got Katie. You got married, and you've now been married for
47 years.
47 years. And tell me, what has kept the relationship happy, going? What's the great things about? I don't know how to ask this question. Okay, so Katie, what's the great things about Bob that keeps you? Relationship spicy?
I think we both laugh a lot. And we laugh a lot at each other, and we laugh a lot at ourselves. Yeah. And that's probably what's held it together. There was a period, Clarice, for about 5 years or so, where we didn't talk to each other. It was not good. We were just like, and I kept asking for a divorce. He was not cooperative at all. And, but we had the 3 kids, right? And I was working, all my jobs that I was always working. And, so we had his mother, Mama Nall, who lived with us, and she was a godsend. She actually, she was a professional housewife. She was fabulous. She loved cleaning house. She loved doing the laundry. We came home to dinner every night at like 5:30, and dinner was made. It was healthy. It was great. And so I always said, I want a divorce. I'm keeping the kids and your mother. And he wouldn't let me have any of it. So, and he's a divorce attorney. So he would say horrible things like, I'm taking
like no.
Yeah. So I just thought, all I have to do is outlast him and wait until the kids are grown up, and then I don't need Mama Nall so much. And I still take Mama Nall, but that'd be okay. But in the meantime, things just don't work out the way I want. Every time I ask for a divorce, somebody would give me a newspaper article. I'd hear something on the radio. I'd see something on TV about how adult children of divorced parents still feel horrible. And I know what that felt like, because my parents divorced all the time. So I knew what happened. I know that your standard of living drops in half. I knew that, there's a lot of nastiness and everything. And so we just decided, I don't know if we decided, I decided I'm just not talking to him for 5 years. So it was really awkward. Do you remember that? Yeah, it was really bad.
Was that one of the most difficult times of your marriage?
Oh yeah, I think
Yeah,
You not be talking
that was the worst.
together, and you're living together, and you're playing families together. How could you not be talking to each other? How does that work? Well, actually,
You get busy with the lives of the kids, and you're going in different directions. I found that the only way I could survive was I started getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning just to have my own quiet time. And I'd have my own quiet time. I actually, at the time, I had my own business. So I would get up at 4 or 5, go into my office, do 2 hours of work in my office, which was almost essentially a day's worth of work, come back home, get the kids ready and everything. And then, I would sneer at him, and then, and then go off. And then at night I was busy with the kids and stuff. So we were all in the same house, very small house at the time too.
Mm-hmm.
And we would just, it was not nice. It was horrible.
But when you go through something like that over a 5-year period, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, something happens and you come back together, what's that like for you, or what was that like for you?
Do you remember that? I do.
I remember it, but I know that you were talking to a psychologist, right?
Oh, that was before the 5 years.
Oh, before. Yeah. Well, I was kind of oblivious to most of it. I mean, I knew it was bad. I knew it was not good, but I didn't feel the pain of the bad relationship nearly as much as Katie did.
Okay.
So I just kind of ignored it.
Okay.
And tried to power my way through it.
Push your way through.
But I will tell you what happened. We were in a bookstore, and he saw a book, and he's like, "Oh, this looks like an interesting book. I think I'd read it." And I turned and looked at him, because first of all, it was a spiritual book, not spiritual, and it's a book. He wasn't reading books. So I was like, "Really? You'd read this book?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." And it was, I can't remember. It was O'Martin, and it was something about the guy, Power of a Prayerful Husband. That's what it was, Power of a Prayerful Husband. And I was like, "You would read that book?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." So I bought the book, and
I was already praying she wouldn't make me read the book.
I gave it to him. It sat on his dresser for months. And so I thought, well, I'll read the book and see if we can't get us a prayerful husband here. And so I'm reading the book, and I was like, wow, this is really good. This is really interesting. I wonder if she's got a book for the wives. Sure enough. So I went out and bought the book for the wives, and I read through that, and I was like, pretty cool. And basically it was, why don't you try and imagine, I want you to go into the mirror and say this every day. So I'd go into the mirror and say this statement every day. And I have to tell you, Clarice, the first time I said it, I was laughing so hard that I could barely get the words out. But the words were, I love my husband, and he loves me deeply and cares for me deeply. And I'm like, yeah, right. That's not true at all. But I said it in the mirror. And so then I started taking it in the mirror and also in my shower. So every morning I'd be scrubbing my hair. I'm like, yeah, I love my husband. I was saying it because, it was miserable. I mean, it was really miserable at this time. And then one day I was in the shower and my face was wet, not with the shower, but with my own tears.
Yeah.
And it's when I realized that Bob really did love me, and that I was blessed to have a husband who loved me like he did.
Yes.
And that's really when I think, so it wasn't him that had to change, it was me.
You opened up. You've been resisting for so long, and Bob's been biding his time because Bob obviously has faith she's going to come round. And you opened up. And it was amazing because it was a book that Bob had. He's very tactical. Bob had this book knowing full well he's not going to read the book.
Yeah.
But knows that you're the type of person to take the book on board. Oh yes, I get you now, Bob. I understand
What are
completely.
they called? God winks?
But
And sometimes you just get lucky. I got lucky, so.
Over and over and over again.
over again, but I just think it's just an amazing way to be, because you know, they say opposites attract, and I don't know if you're opposite. I don't know you very well, but what I'm seeing is Bob just goes along easy and smooth, and Katie is the one that's all excitable and colourful, etc. And Bob just goes with the flow.
Yeah, she's definitely with us. I would say opposites attract.
Definitely.
Well, you know, I was always attracted. I don't know that she ever was, but we do have opposite personalities.
But it works for you.
Growing on me.
It works for you. It works for you. I ask everybody, what do you do together as a couple? Do you have hobbies together, or do you have separate hobbies and then you come together?
Well, after the kids left, I decided that, well, if I'm going to divorce him, I might as well like give it one last chance, right? So I said, okay, so the kids are gone. Now's the time to get a divorce, because that's what all my friends did. So I'm like, okay, we need to like at least, you know, end this on the, you know, cool thing. So I suggested that we do contra dancing, and he was a popular guy on the contra dance floor. And we did paddle boating, and we traveled a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we, he likes to travel as long as I do everything. And, and he has.
So true.
Yeah, we do nothing together. But you can tell her about your hobby. Okay, so his hobby actually factors into, you know, years ago they say, you know, write a detailed list of everything you want as your perfect life, right? So I did. I wrote everything I wanted and how it's going to be and everything. And one of the things I wrote was that I would be surrounded by flowers in my house. And when I wrote that, I was thinking of cut flowers, cut roses, you know, beautiful cut flowers and everything. So I'm storming around the house one day and going, I didn't get my flowers. And then I turned around and looked, and my house is filled with his hobby, which is orchids. I have a blooming orchid in almost every room of the house.
Well, that's your fault. You got me hooked on orchids a long time ago. It's your fault.
Orchids are beautiful. My favorite. Orchids are lovely, because the first thing I saw when you came out, Katie, was the orchids, and I said, oh, so beautiful. And the blue, so calming. See?
And then I have hobbies all over the place.
Yeah, you stay busy.
So do you actually grow them, or do you just collect them?
He just buys them.
I just buy them.
You just buy them.
Buy them and try to keep them alive, you know. So
He probably has 200 of them or something. I don't know. But you know, he doesn't smoke and he doesn't drink and he doesn't run around. So he has orchids. I'm glad. I'm happy.
yeah, at least I'm not buying cars anymore. So the plants are a lot less expensive.
And they're just so calming. I do like, yes, definitely a good pastime. So tell me now, what has actually changed in your life? Are you retired yet, or not retired? You're not, because you're.
Neither one of us are retired.
I saw that you're both very active.
What is your life like now? He's kind of retired. He just doesn't know it.
Yeah, well, you know, I still practice law, but you know, now with the pandemic, and I guess it's this place probably this way all over the world. You usually meet with people virtually.
Mm-hmm.
You have anything you do in court, the judges, state and federal, seem to me to really love the fact that they don't have to see lawyers in person. They don't have to see clients in person. And so they're basically insisting, you know, everything, keep everything virtual, even after the pandemic ends, whenever that's going to be. You know, we've already had the divorce judge, you know, tell us, there was one divorce judge in our county, that she basically says, everything's going to be virtual. You do your hearings virtually, which is a super pain to try to admit evidence in, and you can't walk up to a witness and your own or the other side and hand them an exhibit and question them on it like, we used to be able to do in court. And so it's a very, very difficult, it's difficult, especially for older lawyers such as me.
It's great. The pandemic has, for me as well, it made me have to rethink the way I work. I think it's been a great thing, not the pandemic, obviously, because people's lives, but the lockdown has caused us to, forced us in some instances to face ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Who are married. What sort of advice do you pass on to them to help them work through or push through any issues? I don't know. I don't even know. Is that relevant to you? Is that?
Well, if you want my answer is going to be, nobody ever asked me that. And if I ever wanted to tell anybody that, they'd basically walk away from me. However, Katie, it's a huge part of her life.
What would you say?
What?
And what advice would you give young people to stay married?
Oh, to stay married?
Yeah.
I don't really know. I think especially if they have kids,
Yeah.
It's better if you can do it to try to power through it, and because as Katie mentioned earlier, if you have kids, she knows her mom was married and divorced 4 times, her dad a couple of different 2 marriages, I guess, but and the reason she moved around so much as a child is because I think her mom worked as a secretary and they were going from I think what you'd call it welfare island to welfare island, running from the creditors, trying to get away from people trying to collect bills. She is really good at math and because was able to figure that out. But you can tell, at least I can, when you talk with her that she had gaps in terms of history and some of the subjective courses because she wasn't, she wasn't at one elementary school or one junior high school or one high school. So she missed a lot of stuff, like World War II history and stuff, Civil War history and stuff like that.
So what advice would you give young people?
The young people, I think, well, first of all, I tell them, have you tried counseling? Just basically try counseling. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your spouse, and most of all, you owe it to your young kids if you have young kids.
Okay.
So, but I would tell people basically to keep a marriage together, try to find, a counselor, someone that you both of you need to feel a connection with and do that. A lot of times, they'll want to like the counselor better than the others, but and then I mean, somebody almost always has a different. There's always somebody wants to get divorced more than the other person does, invariably, and so that person that wants that to happen is the most resistant to the counseling. But that's the only thing I can think of to basically say.
So my advice would be, just like Bob, if you're in an abusive situation of any kind, there's no reason to stay. Nobody for any reason deserves that. So that would be my first advice. If you're in a situation that is difficult or challenging, I know myself, when I was younger, I couldn't help but focus on me. And if you're in a relationship and it's not going the way you want, know that it's not always all about you. Sometimes it's the other person is struggling with other things, and to have a little compassion. I know one of the things I did was to find out, how my parents were raised and find out how Bob's parents were raised. And it helped me understand a little bit about who I am and about who he is. And I think just having compassion and not taking yourself so seriously. I was so serious about myself, right?
Well, you came from what I would consider to be a super dysfunctional family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I mean, Katie didn't see her biological father until she was 14. Um, he and her parents got divorced before she was even born.
Yeah.
And so she didn't see him for a while. And then, and then she always had problems with her mom, who had a drinking problem. And so they were always butting heads, and then she went into foster care because she either left or her mom kicked her out. Maybe it was a mutual decision. I don't know. So she was, and then when she graduated from high school, I don't know what it was before graduation or before or at, but she arranged with her dad in San Diego because she was in the western part of Nebraska at that time to come out and stay with him.
Yeah.
And it was basically, at least he didn't say no.
Yeah.
So then she got out there and he picks her up from the airport, takes her to the house in Poway, which is, where the one where, that I remember, and leaves her there with his wife then, which would be Katie's stepmother,
Mm-hmm.
and then a couple of kids, half brother, half sister. And then as she learns a little bit later that they had just finished up a thing where the stepmom had been arrested for trying to hire a hitman to kill her dad. So so that's how she was when I met her. And then of course the other part that she didn't tell you is because I had to go on cruise again, and I knew she was hitchhiking to get to junior college, and back then a lot of people hitchhiked, even and it's not nearly as bad in America to do it was back then, but I didn't like it, and so I was getting ready to leave on a long cruise to Westpac cruise to Vietnam. I think it was 10 months, 11 months, and so rather than put my car in storage, I just left it with her, so she was able to drive from Poway to the college and back. So.
My knight in shining armor.
Oh, definitely.
And I didn't have to pay any storage fees.
I didn't think about that.
Always an angle.
Always an angle.
I was thinking, oh, that's so lovely, but there's an angle again. Okay, so I just wanted to ask you, thank you for being so open, but I just wanted to ask you, what keeps your relationship going? What's exciting about your relationship? Because when you've been married for quite some time, you become best friends. And maybe you are always best friends, but just not realize it.
Are we best friends? You don't have any friends.
Well,
You don't have any friends.
I mean, I've got a lot of acquaintances. But no, I don't know that. I don't think I would characterize it like that. I mean, I think that we're the
Strange couple.
Yin and Yang or something like that. I mean, it's like maybe when you look at us together, we're a pretty good unit. But we've been. Let's see. I think I met her in July of 1971. So basically, it's almost 50 years that we've known each other.
Yes.
We were together for 2 years before we got married, so we do have. I think we each have a pretty good sense of humor and entirely different. But I think the thing that we do most is laugh, and usually we're able to laugh at each other, without getting too offended by it. So I think that helps, and it also helps that when I met Katie, I was thinking that, gosh, she's just hot. I mean, she's just a drop dead gorgeous knockout, But then it wasn't until later that I realized that she was smarter than I am, And at first I said, that's so weird, how could that happen? I never visualized myself with a longtime woman partner that's smarter than me, because hey, could that even happen, But it did. So and she's very capable, and I give her a hard time about a lot of the stuff she does, but she's really good at it, and and she's she stays busy, that's for sure, you know. And really the good part about that for me is usually she's so busy, she's staying off me, you know. Now, as soon as we finish here, we're going to go back over to my new office and continue cleaning and getting moving in there, which I know this has been fun for me, but I know we can keep this going for a long time because I know as soon as I leave here, I'm going to go get reamed out, you know, so.
Reamed out means I'm going to ask him, what does this paper mean and can we throw it away? This guy is a major hoarder.
What's a ream of paper?
Yeah, ream of paper. I do not know how he only married once because he does everything in multiples. I don't understand why he doesn't have 3 wives. He will make 14 copies of a piece of paper. And I kind of get that idea if you're going to like file it in 14 different places, but he puts all 14 copies in the same place. So he loses them all at once. I don't understand.
I think they call it OCD or
he's got
ODC.
He's got ODC. I've got ODC. Don't care. After a while, I'm like, I don't care anymore. Put it this way. Yeah.
But you know, the good thing is it's good we're laughing now because in a couple hours we're not going to be laughing.
One of us will be laughing.
I just want to say I have thoroughly enjoyed meeting you both. I'm absolutely blown away and I absolutely applaud you with your life and the commitment to each other. I really want to thank you both for taking the time to speak to me. Is there anything that you want to add now that we're at the end? Is there any tidbits or bits of advice or anything at all? Because maybe I've forgotten. I've been so caught up in
I just want to say that this is the best thing that's ever happened to me in my whole life and that I love him dearly.
Well, and you're the same for me, you know.
What? You're the best.
No, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Yeah, I can remember years ago calling her up from once my ship was in and not on cruise. The captain of our ship had a girlfriend. He was married, of course, with kids in San Diego, but that's where his wife was. But he had a girlfriend in San Francisco. So every time we turned around, our ship was going from, you know, San Diego to San Francisco. And so we'd be up there so he could visit with his girlfriend would come on board. But I can remember being at the base and calling her, you know, payphone way back when and saying, will you marry me? And it was like, no. You know, will you marry me? No. Will you marry me? No. You know, but I guess it was a good lesson in persistence for me. I mean, I just kept trying. Definitely. And it was a car angle. It was the X 155 a month. But you know, that worked. You know, that was a hook. I got her hooked and, you know, reeled her in. You know.
And she stayed. So it was a lot more than the 155. Yeah. Congratulations to both of you. I wish you many, many more years. Both take care of each other. And
oh, yeah. He's going to be around for a long time. He's almost finished training.
Yeah. Well, wish me luck this afternoon.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I do not envy you that.
Maybe the last time anybody sees me laugh.
Absolute pleasure. I just want to say thank you so much.
Help me. Well, I need a little sign that says help me.
Katie is not amused, Bob.
I think I'm coming too close to the edge here.
Okay, well, I'm just going to wish you both well and say again, thank you for joining me on Conversations with Clarice. People, if you love this story, which I absolutely do, please subscribe, like, and comment. A wonderful story and a wonderful couple celebrating Valentine 2021. I wish you both the best.
Thank you, Clarice.
Thank you.
We love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care of yourself.
Bye.